Boston, 1962, a city of tradition, of history, of cobblestone streets and brownstone houses. But a shadow was falling over the city. A sense of dread crept in with the evening fog. The Boston Strangler was on the loose. The first whispers of fear began in June. Anna Slazers, a 55-year-old woman, was found in her apartment. She was strangled with her own nylon stockings. The door was locked. There was no sign of forced entry. Panic spread like wildfire. The newspapers ran headlines in bold, screaming about the phantom strangler. The image of Anna Slazers, a woman alone in her apartment, resonated with the city's residents. Fear became a constant companion. The police worked tirelessly. They chased every lead, every rumor, but the killer, a phantom in the night, remained elusive. The city held its breath. Who would be next? The victims were mothers, daughters, sisters, cherished members of their families. They were artists, nurses, homemakers, contributing to society in their own unique ways. They were ordinary people living ordinary lives filled with hopes and dreams, until they weren't. Mary Mullen, 85, was found in her apartment in June 1962, her life tragically cut short. Just a few weeks after Anna Slazers met a similar fate, again the telltale signs strangled, no forced entry. The fear in the community intensified. Then came Nina Nichols in June 1962, another life lost. Helen Blake followed in June 1962, adding to the growing list of victims. Each murder followed a chillingly similar pattern, leaving the community in shock. The victims, all women living alone, were found strangled in their apartments, their lives stolen. The city was paralyzed with fear, an eerie silence blanketing the streets. Women were afraid to be alone in their own homes, their sanctuaries now places of dread. The police were under immense pressure to catch the killer, the weight of the city's fear on their shoulders. The hunt for the Boston Strangler had become a race against time, a desperate bid to restore safety.
The fear was palpable. You could feel it in the air. My aunt was one of the victims, and the thought that someone could just walk into her home, her sanctuary, and take her life, it was unbearable. We were all terrified, living in constant fear, wondering who would be next.
The investigation was extensive, spanning across multiple districts and involving numerous departments. Hundreds of officers worked tirelessly, following every lead, every whisper. The pressure was immense and the stakes were incredibly high. Detectives interviewed thousands of people, hoping to find a clue that would break the case wide open. They knocked on doors, canvassed neighborhoods, and chased down every tip, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. But the Strangler remained a ghost, eluding capture at every turn. The lack of a pattern, beyond the victims being women, made the investigation even more difficult and frustrating. The killer seemed to strike at random, leaving no trace, no evidence that could be used to track him down. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The body count rose and the sense of urgency grew. The city of Boston held its breath, united in fear and desperation, as the Strangler continued his reign of terror. Who was the Boston Strangler? The question haunted everyone.
We were working around the clock. The pressure was intense, and the fear of another attack was always present. Every day we hoped for a breakthrough, but it felt like we were chasing a shadow, always just out of reach. The randomness of the attacks made it nearly impossible to predict where he would strike next, adding to our frustration. We were desperate for any clue, any lead, anything that could bring us closer to catching the elusive killer.
In 1964, a man named Albert DeSalvo confessed to being the Boston Strangler. He was already in prison for a series of sexual assaults, crimes that had already shocked the community. DeSalvo provided chilling details about the murders, descriptions that were eerily accurate, details that only the killer could know, or so it seemed, raising both alarm and intrigue. His confession sent shockwaves through Boston, a city already on edge. Could this man, this seemingly ordinary man, be the monster who had terrorized the city? The police were convinced, but not everyone was sure. The public breathed a collective sigh of relief, believing the nightmare was over. The nightmare, they thought, was finally over. But was it truly the end of their fears?
DeSalvo's confession was, in many ways, convincing. He knew things that only the killer would know, details that seemed impossible to fabricate. But there were inconsistencies, details that didn't quite add up, leaving room for doubt. It raised the question, was he truly the Boston Strangler, or was there more to the story? Could there be another explanation? The legal implications were significant, affecting not just DeSalvo but the entire justice system. If he wasn't the strangler, then the real killer was still out there, lurking in the shadows. It left a lot of unanswered questions and doubts, questions that would haunt the city for years to come.
Section 5. The mystery deepens doubts and discrepancies.
Doubts lingered. Some of DeSalvo's details didn't add up. Some evidence didn't match his confession. Some investigators believed the police had pressured DeSalvo into confessing. Others thought he was seeking attention. The lack of physical evidence linking DeSalvo to the murders fueled the skepticism. The case, it seemed, was far from closed. The doubts cast a long shadow over the confession. Had they caught the real Boston Strangler, or had they imprisoned a man for crimes he didn't commit? The mystery remained.
Section 6. A new millennium, a new look, modern forensic science.
Decades passed. The Boston Strangler case remained cold, but the world of forensic science was evolving. DNA technology emerged as a powerful tool for solving crimes. Could it unlock the secrets of the Boston Strangler case? In the early 2000s, investigators decided to re-examine the evidence using modern forensic techniques. They hoped to find the missing link, the irrefutable proof. The focus shifted to the victim's remains. They exhumed the body of Mary Sullivan, the Strangler's last victim. The hope was to find DNA evidence that could definitively link or rule out Albert DeSalvo.
Section 7. DNA, unlocking the secrets.
The results were shocking. The DNA found on Mary Sullivan's body did not match Albert DeSalvo. It belonged to an unknown male. DeSalvo, it seemed, was not the Boston Strangler. At least not the killer of Mary Sullivan. The case was blown wide open. The discovery sent shockwaves through the city of Boston. The man who had confessed, the man many believed was responsible, was innocent of at least one of the murders. But if not DeSalvo, then who? The DNA evidence raised more questions than it answered. It cast doubt on the entire case, on everything they thought they knew. The hunt for the Boston Strangler was far from over.
The Boston Strangler case remains a chilling reminder of a time of terror. It's a story that continues to haunt the city and its people. The case changed the way people lived. Women were afraid to be alone. The city felt vulnerable, exposed.
The legacy of the Boston Strangler is a complex one. It's a story of fear and uncertainty, but it's also a story of resilience and the unwavering pursuit of justice. Even today, the victims are remembered. Their stories serve as a reminder of the importance of vigilance, of protecting the vulnerable, and of never forgetting the victims of violent crime.
The Boston Strangler case also highlights the evolution of forensic science. From rudimentary fingerprinting to sophisticated DNA analysis, the tools for solving crimes have come a long way.
DNA technology has revolutionized criminal justice. It has the power to exonerate the innocent and bring the guilty to justice, even decades after a crime has been committed. The case serves as a stark reminder that the pursuit of justice never ends. New technologies offer new hope for solving old crimes and bringing closure to victims and their families.
The Boston Strangler case, though still shrouded in mystery, underscores the importance of continued advancements in forensic science and their potential to finally reveal the truth. The Boston Strangler case remains unsolved. The true identity of the killer or killers may never be known. The questions linger, but even without all the answers, the case continues to fascinate and horrify. It's a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of any city.
The victims, however, are more than just names on a case file. They were daughters, sisters, mothers. They were lives cut short, their stories forever intertwined with the mystery of the Boston Strangler. Their memory fuels the pursuit of justice, a pursuit aided by the ever-evolving world of forensic science. The hope remains that one day, the truth will be revealed, and the victims will finally find peace.
Even today, the Boston Strangler case continues to captivate and confound. Amateur sleuths and professional investigators alike remain drawn to its chilling details and unanswered questions. The case serves as a stark reminder of the limitations of memory, the elusiveness of truth, and the importance of never giving up the search for answers. The victims deserve nothing less. The passage of time may have faded the headlines, but the memory of the Boston Strangler and his reign of terror continues to echo through the streets of Boston, a chilling whisper in the night. The search for truth and justice continues. Subscribe for more unsolved mysteries from Mr. Thrill Seeker, and make sure to share if you dare. Stick around for some of our most recent releases.